People are making inferences about your product. They can't see the cricket that you put behind the chimney most of the time. They're not going to understand that, but what they can understand is this looks nice.
But if you walk away from a sale and you don't get the deal, it typically was either going to be urgency, they didn't see why they need to move forward today, or value.
We want to share with you the ideal sales presentation for roofing today. A lot of people don't have a sales presentation at all, Klay. Why?
Yeah, I think, for a lot of company owners, they started off successfully. They just went out and sold themselves. And then you bring other reps on, and before you know it, you're doing $5 to $10 million a year, and you have virtually no sales process, or maybe you think you have a sales presentation, but you're just kind of showing some shingle boards and what the manufacturer gave you.
What about the other presentations that are out there? Some people have some really basic Google slides, and they look like shit, but they've worked for them. They've closed deals. They got a close rate. They have one. So why is yours better? And then let's get right into the slides once you share that.
Yeah, for sure. I see it go two ways. What you have to remember with the sales process is it's one piece of the process. It's made to plug into the middle. So I'm doing things intentionally when I get there, and I'm doing things intentionally to close it. But my sales process needs to be intentional. So a lot of slides are just kind of throwing out some random things. There's no target. And then other presentations are just way too long. So what we did with our presentation, and not everybody on here is going to be able to make the lift, but we just kind of want to share some best practices.
Pull it up here. Let's look at this bad boy. And by the way, I want to share my quick point of why I think this matters. The real quick thing is people are making inferences about your product. They can't see the cricket that you put behind the chimney most of the time. They're not going to understand that, but what they can understand is this looks nice. This looks high quality. And the first way they do that is you in your uniform and how you look. And then the sales presentation is another big visual. And they have to kind of guess how high quality your service is going to be.
Yeah. And, a lot of people look cheap. You look like a carpenter. You look like you're going to give the lowest estimate. And what we really aim is when you pull out an iPad and you have this very super professional presentation, in addition to the wrap truck, in addition to the nice uniform, collectively the homeowner starts to think like, I don't even know if I can afford these guys. And then in the end, when you're just a little bit more expensive, it becomes a no-brainer to work with you.
Pop through a few of these slides and give me maybe the principle on like slides 2 through 4 or something like that, so people can understand like what are you doing here.
Yeah. So we buy from people we like and trust, but if you walk away from a sale and you don't get the deal, it typically was either going to be urgency. They didn't see why they need to move forward today, or value. They don't see why they need to move forward with you. And in order to create urgency, you have to create understanding. So it's like if my finger gets cut off, I understand I need to go to the doctor like right away. But then I might be in some foreign country and I'm looking at this really cool snake, and one of the locals comes over and is like, what are you doing? That snake could kill you, right? So I didn't have the understanding to create the urgency. And so what we like to do early on, before I actually get on the roof, is I introduce my brand, and we make these custom for everyone. But I also like to be super transparent. Like, I'm going to be outside for about 30 minutes doing your inspection. Then I'm going to go out to my truck to put together your needs. Let me tell you a little bit about what I'll be looking for while I'm on your roof. And that allows me to jump into, a lot of homeowners will tell us one thing about their roof. They have a 25 or a 50-year shingle. The problem is no one told the shingle about the warranty. And so, you're in Minnesota, I'm here in Ohio, but we both have extreme climates where it's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold all the time. And so the roads get really broken up, but a shingle is made of the same stuff as a road. It has granules in it, and it has asphalt. So on a road, you get very obvious potholes. Part of the reason why I need to put my ladder to your roof, Tim, is to check for these much smaller microthermal cracks. You can't see them from the ground, but they're absolutely leak points. And what happens is these small leaks over a period of years could actually rot away the decking on your home and add potentially thousands of dollars to the project. So that's why I need to get on your roof. While I'm on your roof, I'm going to look for these 6 things. And so what we're trying to do is be, super transparent. Every customer wants to know, does their roof need to be replaced? Let me show you a picture of a roof that needs to be replaced. So if I jump up on your roof, Tim, and all the granules on your shingles are gone, and I'm actually looking at the asphalt and fiberglass layer, like this is a picture of a roof replacement, and that's kind of a clear sign that we need to do something, right now.
Let's stop right now. So you're starting with the urgency to give the principles to folks. You're starting with, these are the problems that are going to come up or could come up on your roof. You're giving them, in the meantime, first of all, I need you to know these are the types of things I'm looking for. And then when you come down later with a few pictures or videos of that type of damage or that type of issue, they can say, oh, this is what he said he could find. And he gave me transparency beforehand that this is the type of problem that I could have. So that's creating trust, because you're telling them, you're forecasting what might happen.
Yeah, and I think it creates a level of transparency too. People, for good reason, don't trust sales guys. And so I might come off the roof and describe to them that their roof is really bad. I might even show them some pictures, but without a baseline, without an understanding of what bad really looks like, then they kind of just have to take my word for it. So, before creating urgency, you got to create understanding. And that's kind of name of the game with these first handful of slides, is create understanding. And then that leads us ultimately into a funnel where, once I do get back and I present them with inspection videos and the pictures and the 19-point inspection sheet, we're going to kind of make a decision, like, either A, your roof can be repaired or rejuvenated if you offer that service, and we're really happy about that, or hey, after looking at this body of evidence, wouldn't you agree it's really time we go ahead and get the thing replaced? And so
I appreciate that. Maybe show us a few more slides. I know we're not going to, I don't want to you can go to My Virtual Sales, talk to Klay and his team about this, setting this up for your company, making it branded, making sure to swap things out that need to be, but you can also get some of this boilerplate stuff, right? We don't necessarily need to reshoot all these videos to create a presentation for you. Is that correct, Klay?
Yeah, so like all these backgrounds and stuff are already built. I change all this out to reflect your colors and logos. And then we have other teams, like they want all these videos in the background to be B-roll from their company, and that all becomes part of the build. But what's really important is that this is living inside of, we're featuring your family and stuff, but it lives inside of a structured sales process. And so on the back end, it's like, okay, I have all these slides, but now what do I say? We've addressed that by creating a whole folder. We have the whole presentation on video. So when you get a sales presentation, you obviously get your slides, but then you get all the training on what to say and how to use them in the form of videos and other pieces of the process.
So you're telling me just making these slides and making them look really good, because I could just duplicate what you got, isn't going to fix my sales problem if I've got one. By the way, everyone flexes and they're like, yeah, we got 50% close rate. Why is that a lie, Klay? Why do because most of these roofing companies, I don't think, have a 50% close rate. Why do people only, because when you ask on Facebook or something like that, everyone tells you that they've got this astronomically high close rate. Do you think that they really do?
I think they think that they really do. What we found as we start to work with companies is that the data that they have is pretty limited, and then the data they have can also be corrupted. So, obviously we build sales presentations out for people. That's one piece of our business. We also will go in, create custom reporting in the CRM, and then truly find out what the sales percentage, what the close rate really is, what the average sale per lead issued is. And there's typically a pretty big discrepancy from what you think and then what the data actually tells us. And it's all super important, because like every roofer right now is saying, oh, next year I want to do 10 million. I did 8 million this year, but without really good data on close rate and where the leads came from, how do you scale? It's like you're kind of hitting this imaginary mark. And so having good reporting is key to actually knowing what you're really doing.
All right, the video, we might have 5 minutes left. I just want to, what are one or let's say three crucial pieces to every sales presentation to get the ideal sales presentation that we can share with people? We might not be able to consult with them directly right now through the screen. Sorry, guys, but if there were three things you needed to include in your sales presentation, what are they?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing is you need to include elements to get them to trust your company. So, years in review, years in business, and then also reviews. This is a slide that we have in pretty much every presentation we build. Is first of all, before you build value, ask the customer what's valuable to them. Don't assume value. So, like for me personally, I don't buy warranties. So, if you were to go into my house and tell me how great your warranties are, you wouldn't move the needle at all. So the first thing you need to do is figure out how I buy by asking a question like, hey, have you guys talked with any other contractors recently? Then get them to trust your brand by talking about your ratings, reviews, years in business, that type of thing. But one thing I think a lot of companies don't articulate well is a lot of people, for example, might put a project manager on the job. So they'll describe what the project manager does, and I'm sitting here nodding along, assuming all things are the same. So, those other 3 bids I got must be including that as well. So when I introduce a value add, I like to make sure the customer understands that it's not included in every estimate. So when I introduce a project manager, I might say something like, so Tim, for this project, were you looking to manage your own project? Did you want to talk with the crew, make sure the material's right, clean up after them, or would you rather that I just took care of everything?
Yeah, I want you to take care of everything.
Right, I want you to take care of everything.
Yeah.
So now, boom, so here's how I'm going to do that, right? And have a picture of your project manager open on the slide and explain his role. And then later on, when you're $2,000 or $3,000 more than the other guy, it's like, well, hey, that project manager, I've been trying to get him to work for free, but he refuses to do it, So I had to get him a salary, a truck, benefits, workers' comp. Can't you see why I'm a couple $1,000s more? So I would say have brand building stuff, but then make sure your value adds, it's like really clear why. Like if I'm gonna really build value, I'm basically building dollar signs. So I need to understand how to have that conversation in a way that it's not like, oh, that's just included in every estimate. You know what I mean?
That makes a lot of sense. One more, maybe, that you think people need to include?
Yeah, I would say getting small commitments from your customers. So big separator for a lot of contractors is, it could be that project manager. So once you've built the value of the project manager, we ask what's called a tie down question. So to kind of make sure that the value is really there for the customer, I might say something like, so Tim, would you ever hire a roofing contractor who would make you manage your own project? And then the homeowners, of course, would, no, I wouldn't do that. So it's kind of build the value by asking the question, like start the value conversation by finding out what's important. Then make sure the customer understands that not every estimate includes this, and then get the customer to commit that if the other contractor didn't do it, then they wouldn't move forward. And it's these compounding value adds, it's these small commitments where in the end of it, it's like, well, I can't really work with anybody else but this company because they're the only ones who are doing everything that's important.
Yeah. Any other slides you think are absolutely critical that people often don't include?
Yeah, I like the cost versus value slide, and this is a little bit older one. And Engage has this is the software that's built out inside.
Yeah, by the way, Engage, it's ingag.io, and I've been using it for a long time for our agency. It's killer. I've never seen anyone set it up to the degree that My Virtual Sales has done it, so I highly recommend you talk to My Virtual Sales. And they've already built this out, and it's a very reasonable price from what I understand. It's a monthly price, Klay?
Yeah, we made it super affordable.
And normally if you go to Engage, it's actually like it's kind of an expensive software. Not, hey, shout out Engage, you're doing a great job. But through Klay, they have a very good deal from what I understand.
Yeah, we can get you set up so you can actually go through us and get your Engage license and everything. You don't have to go to them and then come to us. So that integration is seamless. And I think one big part of why we chose the Engage software, and it kind of goes along with your question, Tim, which is like what's one thing that should be in every presentation, is you should be able to track it. And so, you can build out a beautiful presentation in whatever software you prefer to use. And then all the reps are going to say we're using it every time, but it's not working. That's like every rep is, oh, it's not working. So what Engage allows us to do is by rep, we can track usage. So I can give rep A, B, C all their own separate Engage license. I see every time they open up the presentation. I see every time they close it. And what we found is we had two instances this year. One was a $10 million roofing company. Another was an $18 million roofing company. The top performers, not just close rate, but revenue-wise in the company, were our top engaged users. So now I can have a direct correlation between using the presentation and the process. I can see the data come in, and then I can compare it with revenue. And of course, stuff like that is motivator. So if you have a rep struggling in that company and they just can't figure out what to do, it's like, well, hey, why don't we just use the software, right? And why don't we just use the pitch, because we know that the top performing reps are doing that.
Okay, so wrap us up. Hit us with the real call to action why somebody should use My Virtual Sales. I want people to give it an opportunity to work with you. I think that probably upgrading your presentation should be a priority. This is sales enablement, guys. Sales enablement means we make things easier for our sales reps to close. I just happen to think Klay and his team are really, really good at this. Highly recommend talking to them. Please let them know that you found out about it through Hook Agency. But don't sleep on building a better sales presentation no matter what you do. But talk to Klay if you want it to be really good without a lot of headache.
Yeah, and that's our whole goal is, I came from a very complicated sales system. The first presentation I showed in the home was like 150 slides, and it was very car salesy, pushy, feely. I'd say this is a presentation that was designed it's retail focused, and our goal was I want to take a guy and train him on how to do retail in a short period of time. So we have a much shorter presentation, much more meaningful. And yeah, it's kind of, if you're doing well now and you don't have a presentation, that's good news, because it shows that the ceiling is actually really high for you to perform at an even better level with a very small investment and just a little bit of work on your craftsmanship.
Where can they go to get connected with you, Klay?
Sure. So we have My Virtual Sales Facebook. We also have, if you go to uglyroof.com, that's our roof rejuvenation company, we have a tab that's sales training. You can fill out a form to jump on a quick call with us and just kind of see if this could be a value add for you in 2026.
All right, my dude. Well, I'm using this for my roofing company. And basically, I was like, I had the to-do. I'm going to make this sales presentation for our company. And I was like, well, I want it to be top of class. And I know if it's me building, I know it's going to be the best if me or somebody with a ton of context on roofing makes it. But I know that to build it how I would want it would take a week or two, really, of my time. It would take a lot of time. You guys have obviously invested a lot of time. And I didn't want to spend I didn't want to do the whole week. So then when I saw you and the fact that you had this, I was like, oh my God, this is going to save me so much time. I'm not going to have to build this out myself. And it's built by somebody who has a ton of context and actually understands the sales process in roofing. So I'm basically super excited, and I'm using this for Owl Roofing, and just grateful to know you, to have the opportunity to work with you on this. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with you too. We've obviously known each other for years. And then one other thing worth noting is, I'm going to help train your sales guys too. And that's not just something I'm doing for Tim Brown. But every company we work with, we get on Zoom, we train the team live, and we're looking to help you win and succeed, and that's what we're all about.
What do you think people that are going to go this alone are going to discover? Like, just go create your own sales presentation. What are they going to find out besides it's going to take a lot of time?
Yeah, I think you're going to find that it's really hard to take all the things you do well and distill it down to something that's meaningful. And so we might have things that are really important to us, and then we're going to go build a sales presentation that reflects what's important to us. But when you look at it, really, it all is about your customer, and so I would encourage you, if you're going to go build your own sales presentation, just try to figure out what is actually meaningful to your customers first. And in this way, rather than designing a pitch around pitching yourself, have something that is actually meaningful to the homeowner. And that's kind of where we started with this, is we had this massive sales presentation. We would go into the home and pay attention to our customer's face. And then we figured out from this let's just talk about everything approach. We distilled it down to those, 7 or 8 things that are actually meaningful to, 99% of our customers.
That's amazing, Klay. Thank you for being on. And thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you guys pay attention to sales enablement this year at your roofing company to increase your close rate and maybe even get some real data on that.
There you go.
All right, Klay, where can they go to check you guys out and get the ultimate sales presentation for roofing?
Yeah, so you can head over to myvirtualsales.com, and there's a place to fill out a form to get more information. We also have a Facebook page, My Virtual Sales on Facebook, and we're happy to help and get you a call and some more information.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. Bye.
Have a great day.
They're so thorough with every detail of the website. Working with Hook, the design is probably 50x better than any other design I've ever had. Their team is super communicative, and I mean this genuinely. I'm happy to pay you guys to work with us. It's been a tremendous experience.